Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
$69 days since Nick has appeared on Apple Slice, so I can finally ask you, how's the heat wave going?
It's come and gone, but yeah, I've had a lot of aircon on in the past few months.
Are those temperatures similar to where you're originally from, South Africa, or?
Yeah, I think like Sydney was probably the hottest city I've ever lived in.
Okay.
But yeah, so Melbourne is like pretty cold right up until December. Like I've never actually had that before where it's supposed to be summer and it's just not. So yeah, but luckily we've had a few like 40-degree days because you need to defrost after a while.
I see that on like the heat map that it's basically all the heats come from like the Pilbara in WA, and so it's just like all the eastern states getting obliterated and it's completely bypassed where I live, so I'm all good.
Oh, nice.
Okay, so while that intro may seem a little out of the blue, what else is out of the blue is a new smart battery case. So can you tell us about this?
Yeah, that was like obviously originally found in the code for the latest iOS by Rambo from 9to5Mac. But anyway, whenever that was leaked, I was super excited because one of my like most short-lived Apple products was the iPhone 6S battery case that I kind of got to extend the life of my iPhone 6 and then ended up getting the 7 like a month later anyway. But anyway, I really enjoyed it for the time I had it. So as soon as I found out they were making it for the 10S, I knew I had to get it. And I have great battery life. Like it gets me through from early morning till late in the evening, and I use my phone obviously quite a bit. So yeah, either way, like I still wanted to get my hands on it. And as soon as I think like I woke up and it was live, the like ability to buy it, and I, got it straight away and delivered Friday, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. So it's pretty bulky. Like obviously it is another battery, but it is what people are constantly asking for Apple to make thicker phones with more battery. And to their credit, they have actually been doing that ever since iPhone 6, but this really takes it to the next level. So the thing I love most about the smart battery case is the battery widget that tells you how much battery the case has and the phone has. I also love that it is, super simple. So you don't have to, like some people find it to be the opposite of a good feature, but I love that you don't have to actually explicitly switch it on, and Apple manages all of the charging. So you know that no matter what, your phone is charged first and foremost, and then the battery case is charged and depleted first. So yeah, I'm loving it so far. It also came like 2 days late because I dropped my iPhone the other day, so last week Wednesday, so I was pretty upset. But yeah, anyway, it's in a case now.
Oh wait, so did you damage it?
Yeah, it is damaged. It's not like got a crack, but it has like quite a bad scratch along the front, and then quite like a few dings in the corners. So yeah, basically it was quite a funny story because I love using Raise for Siri. I just find it to be one of the most magical features. And anyway, I was going for a run, and I've literally had like the dock, or not the dock open, but like the screen of apps, like the list of apps, and workout was right there. And I was like, nah, I don't have Raise to Wake for no reason. So I just raised my wrist and I was like, start a 5-kilometer run. And it said like, calling this person, right, that I'd not spoken to in 5 years. And it just would not have been a good look at all. So I was like, oh, this is not great at all, and just started calling them. And then I had my phone to take my 1 second every day in my back pocket. And basically, I thought I'll just cancel on the watch quickly. And as I went to cancel on the watch, it handed off to the phone. And I had my AirPods in, but I couldn't cancel on there. It was going to be too late and would have called. So I tried to rip my phone out of my pocket like as quickly as possible and just landed on the concrete path. And yeah, I'm pretty upset about it, but I'll get it fixed at some point. It's not like a bad crack. It's just, a scratch that I only notice when the screen is off. But yeah, anyway.
Lucky that you've resigned yourself to the fact that you will upgrade every year, like you said, around September. So, you have less than a year until a new one comes out. Interestingly, with the battery case, just quickly, there is that lip along the bottom. So how does that affect gestures?
Not at all. It actually, I think immediately you find out that you can start the gestures a little bit higher than you expect. And it's actually perfectly fine. I was worried about that initially, but I've had no issue with it. So, obviously whenever using a case, whether it's the gestures to swipe left or right or up from the bottom, it is like obviously not as fluid as the nice rounded glass, but yeah, it works out perfectly fine.
Okay, that's good. Did you also see, because of the Qi charging capability, that you can actually, because these cases arrive not charged at all, that you can actually charge the case before you've even opened it by placing the box on top of a charger?
Yeah, I saw some conflicting reports, but I think that Rene Ritchie really had issues getting his facts straight for this case, because there were quite a few things that he got wrong and then later corrected. But I think he said, I'm pretty sure it was him that said that he had to first give it a little bit of like charge through lightning and then could charge it via Qi. So I don't know if because it was Detroit Borg that put it straight in the box on the charger, right?
Yeah,
I was wondering if he had opened it before and then tried to test that with it, but I know he always orders in multiple colors. So yeah, I don't know who's actually right, but yeah, either way, I'm pretty sure whoever gets it will want to rip it out of the box like I did.
Exactly. I mean, you don't buy it for no reason. So that's the smart battery case, and now we're going to start our predictions for 2019. So what I would like to list off, just at the start to get it out of the way, is what hardware do you think won't get updated or you won't see this year?
Yeah, do you want to kick us off?
Okay, so I'm going to say HomePod, and we're not going to see any mini version or anything like that. No AR glasses this year, it's too early for that. Apple Car, obviously, that even if it exists, is years away, and certainly I wouldn't expect any update to the Apple TV hardware.
Yeah, I think I'm mainly thinking along the same lines. So when I was thinking about this, I was trying to like keep in the realm of what I think, is obvious, like that Apple is working on. So I know that obviously some of the things that you mentioned, they're maybes for over the next sort of 5 years, but I was like thinking, we probably won't see HomePod or Apple TV, mainly because I just think devices for the home are intended to last a little bit longer. Like they don't expect you to upgrade, year to year, so that we don't really see updates that often. And then I definitely don't think the iPhone SE will be updated this year. So that obviously went off sale at the end of last year, which indicated it was dead, and now has come back over the past couple of days on Apple's sort of like clearance website. I didn't even know they had a clearance section in their store. It's so unlike them, but yeah, that was I think they're all sold out now. But anyway, I think that the iPhone SE is dead, not because of the screen size. I just think it's more around where Apple's going with their they're going back to the premium side of the market. So I think it'll be a while before we see something down at the cheap end again.
Perhaps.
Like at least another year or two.
Okay. So moving into a potential event, I'm talking about either a March event or just a March online release. So what have you got for that time?
Yep. So I think the March event will be pretty education focused again. Like I know that Apple's sort of given this fake before where they'll go, oh, here's an education event and then not do it again for another 5 years. But I think there's a bit of momentum growing with that cheaper iPad, and I think there's still a lot of room for them there. So what I was thinking, obviously, my predictions are somewhat informed by rumors, and obviously we've heard a little bit about updates to this iPad. But what I'm thinking here is like if they do push education again, I'm expecting some keyboard stuff, like, and that doesn't mean that I expect them to have the smart connector on the keyboard. Sure, it can have, on that cheaper iPad. Sure, it can happen. There's a lot to differentiate the iPads, but especially with the major design change last year. But I think it's more around like what people can do with the iPad. So I just think like, I don't know, maybe it's releasing like the W series of chips into connected keyboards. Like, so the same way your AirPods connect, you could have like a wireless keyboard connect this without actually pairing. So something like that.
Okay.
That whereas it's more on like the software side, and super useful for education. And then we've obviously heard a little bit about the iPad mini and iPod Touch. So I just chose to focus in a bit on the iPod Touch and thinking about what I would like to see from it there, really more than what I expect to see. So if we were to look at iPod Touch as only being a product for kids, I mean, most adults have like an iPhone, and I just think that you have to be a real Apple fan to have both an iPhone and an iPod Touch. So if we just take it as being marketed towards kids, what could they do with it there? And then I was also thinking about, like, I used to listen to a lot of music while I was studying, and I wonder if there could be like an iPod push in education integrated with Apple Music, like, specific playlist to get the mind like sort of stimulated or relaxed before an exam or something like that. So yeah, I was just thinking like more around what they could do for kids with Apple Music and iPod, and how they could really make that popular. And then just on the software side, if we do see a March event, it's been a little while since they've gone up and shown keynote pages and numbers, so it would be cool to see what they have lined up there.
I kind of think, for me, I'd love for that to happen, but I feel like they had their one in 2018, and I don't think they'd do another education one at least until 2020. So for me, I'm moving more towards just an online release only, and I think iPad Mini 5 available straight away, pretty much the same design, just a spec bump. Now, this regular iPad, they're talking about it having a new design and it being in a 10-inch size, so I think that will be there, but it'll still retain Touch ID and home button and that for cost purposes, and that will be available straight away. And I do think that they are going to, in March, launch AirPower and the AirPods charging case, also available straight away. And then extra to that, kind of like a little fingers crossed thing, would be an update to iPhone SE. I know that you wrote it off, but I feel like that would be the time where they could do it, because that was around the time frame when they did launch SE originally. And I think if they did, it wouldn't be any redesign. It would just be a spec bump and a camera increase.
Yeah, I'm wondering like about these both the iPad Mini 5 and the iPhone SE not getting a design update. So I just think like part of the iPad Mini's decline in Apple like actually updating it has been driven by the fact that people weren't buying it as much as the 9.7-inch iPad. They'd always said that was their most popular model. So I think like Apple's supposed to be focused, right? I'd be pretty disappointed if they updated it just to have newer processors in it. Like, I would like to see some more direction from them, and I might sort of like criticize that if they do go with that, because I just think if you're going to do it, like, you've got an edge-to-edge, how many inches is the iPhone XS Max? Is it over 6 inches?
Yeah, 6.5. 6. So, yeah,
I think 6.5 rings a bell.
Yeah.
Right? So like, let's say that's correct. Then it's only like an extra 1.2 inches for iPad Mini 5. And I don't know. It doesn't feel right to me. I hope not.
That aside, I think that what they could do with the redesign of a standard iPad is it won't look like the iPad Pro. It won't have Face ID or anything, but I think they could slim the bezels down and basically do the similar trick where the actual size of the body stays much the same, but the screen is what gets larger. So Yeah, something like that, but still enough to retain that low price point.
Yeah, I wonder around that. So obviously, I mean, they can take any components and sort of mix and match, and they have the technologies to do each of these things. But I think, as we discussed, like, yeah, I think it was when iPhone SE was released, but when they have the existing tooling and cases and processes, it helps them drive those prices down. So they're able to offer that like pretty good iPad in the cheaper iPad now, but it's mainly able to be cheaper because it uses the iPad Air case and screen and speakers and all of that. And then this would, I'm imagining they would have to do 10.5 inch. And so the 10.5 inch, sure, they've got the tools to make the case, but the screen there is the laminated screen, and having that laminated screen raises the price. So yeah, I would be interested to see their approach. I'm like excited to see their approach to that differentiation this year.
Because I still think that this current standard 9.7 inch iPad is just such a good buy. And anytime anyone's asking me, in recent months, they're like, oh, should I go an iPad Pro or that? And I've actually steered them towards a regular iPad because I've just asked them what they actually going to be using it for. And as much as I want to sell someone on an iPad Pro, you know, if you don't need all that horsepower, if you're not using those pro level apps, etc., then standard iPad is great, particularly because of pencil support. So, I mean, just before we move on to the next bit, I did say AirPower for March. So are you game enough to put down a prediction for that?
No, I've pretty much given up on AirPower. It's kind of, I'm probably like, don't even want to give Apple airtime for it anymore. I'm just like over the fact that we didn't get, well, I sound a little bit entitled, but I just think that they said that the product was going to come out. They sort of said, you know, like, for me, the most frustrating thing about AirPower was that they said it would work with Apple Watch Series 3. And like, there wasn't much to differentiate Apple Watch Series 3. And it was one of the reasons I got it was so I could like get AirPower. And I went through the whole cycle without ever hearing about it again. And for me, that kind of was like, well, you know, I probably could have just kept my Apple Watch Series 2 if I wasn't like upgrading for this whole ecosystem. And so that kind of annoyed me. And then, you know, you sit 18 months without like, without a Qi charger because you're waiting for this. And I just think, oh, well, I'm not like as excited for it anymore. Just like, I'm not going to sit waiting for it like I was last year. I mean, towards in December, I was literally like waiting up on Saturdays and stuff to find out like, oh, are they going to hit the, you know, after 5 p.m. slow news release, or like specifically like waiting for that time. And yeah, I just kind of think, well, I'm over it now.
Given your disenthusiasm for it because of this long wait, if it comes out, would you still get it?
Well, you know, you asked a good question because it might have sounded like I won't get it. Of course I will get it. Of course I will. Of course I will.
Yeah. Good. Okay, so one of the biggest events that I'm super looking forward to, of course, is WWDC. Now, while they didn't do hardware in 2018, I really feel like this is certainly the time to be able to do it, particularly with the pre-announced Mac Pro. So before we discuss software, I just want to list off the hardware that we think could come. So I think a Mac Pro, the modular Mac Pro, the modular part being RAM and possibly one other thing that you can swap out for a November release. So this is a preview for a November release. Thunderbolt display also for a November release, and that will have a like bezel reduction, you know, and all that sort of stuff. So probably think maybe like the size of the bezels on the iPad Pro, but in a Thunderbolt display form. I am actually thinking that the iMac redesign will come after all this time, and that redesign will look similar to the Thunderbolt display I just described, and I think that'll be for an August release. Then to match that will be the iMac Pro updated in that same shell, but you know, the darker space grey, also for an August release. Now, I think this could also be a good time for them to preview or announce the over-ear headphones that have been rumoured for a fair while for an October release. And the difference between these, being obviously Apple's entry into noise-cancelling headphones, but the fact that they will be reversible because of the patent about the microphones detecting which position your ears are. And I think that would be a good point for them to push the Pro audio angle. So that's the Pro factor that ties in with WWDC. So what about yourself?
Do you think they can launch like over-ear headphones with a Pro angle? Like obviously Beats Pro exists, but they're wired, and I think like I have no issues with I don't think I have the perception like reactions to find out to really notice, but for video editors apparently Bluetooth earphones and headphones don't really work well because there's the lag between audio and video, and they kind of need things to be synced up. So I just wonder how, like obviously for music it's different, but for that's only one component of Pros. So I'm not sure. I would be interested to see. That would be like a good angle for them if they did come out with that. But yeah, they'd have to have some like zero lag headphones.
The way they could push it would be some like amazing breakthrough in lag reduction or something like that. This sounds probably pretty silly, but would they go as far to have them be wireless headphones but have a headphone jack available in case you need it?
Well, some headphones do exist with that, like in their Beats lineup, but I just don't think they would, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see them doing that, but maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if you are going for that Pro market, they would be annoyed if you took it out. But anyway, and they have said they do make their decisions based on different products. I just don't think that headphone jack is in their long-term plans on any of the products. Now, I'm slightly less optimistic. surprise,
That's the
than
running
you are
thing.
here. Yep. So for me, like, I think it will be that we'll just see the Mac Pro and Pro Display. I think they've pretty much come out and said you are going to see that from us in 2019, and this is their opportunity where they have 6,000 pros in the room. So I'm pretty sure they'll at least preview the Mac Pro and the Pro Display there. I'm particularly not envisaging an iMac Pro redesign. I just have a feeling that's a next year thing. I could be probably completely wrong, but I just think that given the iMac Pro was only recently released in Apple's terms, then I think we'll see a dual redesign probably next year on those, because trying to fit those iMac Pro components in a much smaller display just seems really hard.
I mean, unless they did the as I mentioned before, the iMac redesign, they revealed that first for an August release, and then the iMac Pro following the same redesign but for a November or late year release, knowing the challenges they face in terms of fitting the components.
Yeah, and you just reminded me inadvertently of another reason why I don't think we'll see iMac Pro, and it's the Pro components. I think that they're unlikely to say, here are 2 Pro options for you, which are brand new and updated, and go for it. It just seems like all their effort on Mac Pro then would be somewhat cannibalized by iMac Pro and having that great new Thunderbolt display design. So yeah, I think they might do it. Even if they have the technical capability, I wouldn't be surprised if for a product differentiation reason that we didn't see that update this year.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. Software side. So yes. I think we can just go back and forth on each section because this can be a bit lengthy. But let's start off with Siri. So what are you feeling like we're going to see with Siri?
Yep. So I think, again, we'll see updates to Siri shortcuts, and that being the focus of Siri this year. So I don't think we're really ever going to get the major, this is our, update to Siri, server-side stuff. I'm thinking general knowledge, what most people think of as just general knowledge that Siri should have. I don't think we're really going to see that. What I'm expecting to see is more shortcuts, integration, particularly what I was thinking here, and I'll get a bit into it in iOS 13, but have you ever used the app If This Then That?
No.
So basically, it's an app that allows you to create a trigger and then like a response to that trigger. Now that could be leaving home and then you add it to a Google Drive spreadsheet. So they're integrated with hundreds of services, everything from Philips Hue to like a toaster, and you can basically just have these triggers that if this thing happens, then this automated thing happens. And what that could then allow is that instead of someone having to actually press that the shortcut should run, you can actually start creating complex shortcuts where, if I leave home, then run the like leaving for work shortcut and so on, like, within a certain time. So you start getting more around like these reactive software things and integrating into shortcuts. And I just think that that's like an easy win for Apple and shortcuts to take it to the next level.
Okay, so I'm feeling definitely shortcuts. I think that they are going to touch on HomePod, and that's going to be the only reference to HomePod throughout the year. And I do think while it's not going to be like, here's Siri 2.0 or anything like that, I think that there's going to be some things relating to what I refer to as the John Giannandrea effect, in terms of that you could, like, us as invested Apple fans could pinpoint as, okay, yeah, that's totally a JG thing. And I think they'll do it in a way, they'll demo some stuff in a way that doesn't make current Siri look stupid, but then also sells the kind of like, hey, we've advanced Siri in this way. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do that.
Do you think we'll get an Australian Siri voice update?
You mean the one to sound like they did with the American one to make it sound more realistic or whatever? Yeah, why not?
I hope so, because like not only... So the main reason I actually use Australian Siri is because the HomePod obviously works for English only in UK, US, and Australian English. And I thought, that's fine. I can, just have my phone set to South African English, and then it'll be fine in my HomePod to another. But it actually won't let me have mismatched Siri like backends or voices.
Okay.
And use the personalized Siri. So it's like, I have to actually use Australian Siri. So I'm really hoping to hear like the natural voice redesign, because not only am I understood better by South African Siri, it also sounds, in my opinion, way more natural. So yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, it's a good point to bring up. All right, the big one, iOS 13. I want to break this into, like, separate iPad and iPhone, because I feel like there could be some platform-specific features here. Okay, so starting with iPad, I think that the desktop-level apps will definitely be a feature. I am expecting some level of user interface, user experience redesign. I think that visually the elements will look much like iOS 12, but maybe the app layout or the way folders work and like, say, the Files app, I think will definitely change. They'll make some improvements for text selection. A very pie-in-the-sky, fingers-crossed thing would be Magic Mouse support and some way of turning it into more of a laptop-type thing. That's just me being ever optimistic. I just think that would really help iPad sales and iPad Pro sales, I think, in terms of actually kind of getting people's minds over the fact that they're using a tablet as they perceive versus a laptop. A desktop class Safari, or at least something closer to that. Tabbed apps, so being able to use the same app side by side. Multi-user, we've been talking about and thinking that multi-user may be coming for years now. And could this be the year? I hope so. And that would roll out to HomePod as well. Better support with USB-C devices like external storage. Now, I certainly don't think they're going to open it all up. Like Apple have a certain level of security that they want to maintain, but I think it'll be more like the camera roll won't sort of serve as the transition point between accessing files and such. I think they're going to redesign this Files app in a way that it's kind of it makes a little bit more sense. And then I think there'll be more pencil to gestures or some sort of demo relating to that.
Do you want to do the phone?
Oh, no, I think you go iPad.
Okay, cool. Well, I don't actually have it split up by iPad, except basically, just to rain on your parade a bit, because I just really... I think I've gone through this where I've been super excited about a hardware of a product and then thought, well, it'll be updated for next year to have all the little things I want. It'll be great. And, I just, when this iPad was released, like obviously it's a beast and it can do a lot, but you have to work at it. And a lot of people don't like that. And essentially a lot of people then just because of that kind of like started coming with, this iPad's going to be so much better when iOS 13 is out. And it's more to protect myself than to actually not believe that will happen. It's just that I just don't want to spend the next 6 months waiting to enjoy my iPad. So for me, I'm kind of just saying, we're not going to see some crazy stuff like windowing, and like just more, like I think we'll get some stuff, but I definitely don't think we'll see hard drive integration. So people are still on the hard drive, like, yeah, maybe learn to use some sort of cloud system, or like even if you make your own one, if you don't trust the cloud, make a server and you can go from there. But yeah, just don't expect to see like some actual USB-C increased support, maybe a mouse, but I'm not feeling any of those sort of like laptop-y features.
That's fair enough. I think just at least something involving changes to the improvements to the Files app, I think is going to be something that will kind of sell it for a lot of pros in terms of using an iPad Pro for, more of their tasks. But yeah, I just think that with iOS 13, like the whole thing of like iOS 12 pushed back all these new features to make it more stable and that sort of stuff. And I certainly think they've been working on something for a long time, and it is coming in iOS 13. I'm not expecting, everyone say it's going to be completely different. I'm not expecting that. It's still going to be very, very familiar, very iOS, but they're going to sort of change it in a way that it will probably mark definitely one of the biggest interface changes for iOS.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. I'll let you take this one.
Yep. So again, this is like mine is less by like hardware split up. So into as I was sort of like getting at earlier, I don't think we'll see specific iPad stuff, but I think we'll see like things that apply to both the iPhone and iPad that move the platform forward. And starting with that home screen redesign, I was starting to think like, okay, what can you do? You're not going to just pop in widgets halfway like between apps like they have on Android. And just shuffling around how the icons work is not really enough. So what can you do? And for me, like everything is grounded in like, maybe it is the John Giannandrea effect, but what more can Apple do with this on-device machine learning? They have like shortcut suggestions, right? When you open Spotlight to say, do you want to like send Simon a message? Because it seems like you've been doing that, that kind of thing. And so I think what we'll see is like maybe kind of think about the home screen if it was the Siri watch face and it had like these, you're up next in a more predictive, more personalized way. You have complications or app shortcuts, and you can sort of mix and match complications and Siri like contextual things, bring like shortcuts as a home screen thing, like just more around that. Imagine just like watch faces being your home screen and what that would mean with all of your personalized information. So I kind of think that would be something fun and interesting, and not just a shuffle around of like how app icons look. So that was what I could think of there. Then I was thinking like in terms of usability of the phone, I don't even know how many people make calls on a daily basis. It's probably like one of the least used features on the overall install base of iPhone users. So obviously when the iPhone was released, like it's a phone, right? So everything about making a phone, they weren't going to let you miss a call. So they were going to make sure you knew your ringer volume. They were going to make sure that you could see that you were getting a call right now. And like it was at the forefront of the user experience, right? Because it's a phone and you don't want to miss a call or a text or whatever. Well, like, okay, that time was just texting and calling. But now that's not really the case. People use their phones as a camera. They use them as like a gaming console. They use them for video and everything, right? And they don't want to be interrupted by a spam call because that's obviously, going to be a continuing issue. So I thought two main things on moving away from this traditional phone elements were remove full screen calls and remove the emphasis on that like volume sort of indicator. I also call it like the ringer indicator, and just kind of move away from that phone's side.
Hey there everyone, I hope you're enjoying Nick and I's conversation about our 2019 predictions. I'm just interrupting this episode of Apple Slice to let you know about another podcast that I feature on. Some Assembly Required is a brand new podcast putting together a whole host of Australian podcasters. So I was on episode 1 that is launching on January 25th. So if you'd like to hear me talk about stuff that isn't Apple, definitely check out Some Assembly Required. You can subscribe now and get ready for the first episode on Friday. I totally agree with that. I think a way to making and rejecting and handling calls to not interrupt you from what you're working on. Same with the volume indicator. I think both of those definitely. I think a Hello Siri also not to be a full screen thing. I think if you're doing the text to Siri, yeah, sure, that can still be the full thing. But I can imagine that just appearing like just in the sort of top fifth or so of your phone screen instead. So rather than it completely taking over the screen. So yeah, more of this stuff where it kind of like less takes you away from what you're working on, I think will be perfect.
Yeah, just on that, like, it kind of makes me think about another issue that I've been noticing a lot like lately is with modals. So if you're, say, in the App Store and you click on your profile to see like your purchased apps or whatever it is, and then you have this like 11-inch screen, and then they pop a tiny little modal in the middle, and you've got all this nice screen real estate to work with, but they just don't. And I'm increasingly thinking that modals are just absolute rubbish UI. Like, why I can't interact with the back part, right? Like, it's not like the rest of the screen is available to be interacted with. So yeah, I suppose it's an attempt to create depth. And when you have like just this UI element that is the size of your phone on your iPad, it doesn't make sense. So I think a lot can be done around even like your human interface guidelines as like bringing about a redesign of the way that the phone works.
I definitely like your idea of like taking the way the kind of Siri watch face works and applying that as the way to redesign the home screen per se. So rather than having to kind of flick across to your control center, flick across to where all the widgets are and everything, kind of bringing that into one space could certainly be handy. For me, for iPhone, I think some always-on features and perhaps some, taking the idea of watch complications and putting that on the lock screen perhaps.
Yep.
Dark mode, I think that they'll finally roll out dark mode. That being said, I more just want it for the case that it is an option. I would still, as I said last year, would like a dark mode that would automatically change like Apple TV does. So it gets the nighttime and then it changes itself to dark mode, because I'm not going to be using it during the day. I love the light interface. I love all of that. It feels very fresh. But at nighttime, I want to reduce the brightness, right? So I think that would be great. Definitely agree with the volume indicator redesign. I think they're going to do a maps demo, in terms of, obviously, because they've been redesigning maps, and I think that's where your CarPlay mention will come into it. There'll definitely be more an AR-Kit. I think there'll be more options for handling notifications, more lengths of time that you can mute them. Improved emoji search. So, when you get your little predictive emoji and it gives you 3 options, I think there'll be a way to kind of better find exactly what you need. I think that they could give read receipts to group messages, and also the idea that Ben Mayo from 9to5Mac actually pitched ages ago is a read on watch. I think that would be really handy, because sometimes someone's they see your message on the watch and it's kind of like marked as read, but they sort of glanced at it and they didn't properly have time to reply to it. And I think that kind of help, because there are situations, say when I'm busy, my wife messages me, I check on the watch, I see what she said, and I'm like, I'll reply to that later, and then I get a text again being like question mark, as in like I've seen you've read this, but you haven't replied. What's going on? So I'd love some sort of read on watch would be great.
I have a suggestion for that. Why don't you make like your quick reply read on watch so that like you can actually explicitly say that, and it would literally be like one button press.
That'd be the signal. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
So that might be like a good interim measure for you, but obviously like system wide that would be cool. But yeah, that would be pretty good.
There you go.
Just to implement.
Handy tip for anyone with partners that are going a little bit nuts at them because they're not replying. To be able to change the camera settings within the camera app, I think would definitely be great, particularly if you want to switch between 4K and all that sort of stuff. And I've always wanted a wallpaper app layout preview. So when you're choosing a different wallpaper, I love to be able to see how it could look with your apps on top of it, because so many times I'm like, spend ages trying to pick a new wallpaper and then I apply it and then I finally go back to the home screen and I'm like, oh no, this just is clashing too much. And just simply to be able to preview it, how it looks like on the lock screen, how it looks like on the home screen would be great. And that's iOS 13 on iPhone for me.
WatchOS 6 up next for me. So I think like I was trying to think around here, like what are any of my pain points and what is Apple really focused in on the watch? So I expect to see more in workouts and health. I'm pretty sure in terms of health, there's like a huge push in heart-related stuff, and it's an easy win for them to get more of an international rollout on ECG. And sure, you can have that as a WatchOS 6 feature. I think we'll see integration with AirPlay 2. I mean, it's coming to Samsung TVs, so surely they can allow AirPlay 2 controls from the watch.
Yep.
And I think what we might see here, and this is one of my more optimistic points of view, is I think we might see, at least I put the possibility of a watch face store. There are obviously huge issues around copyrights with this, but ultimately, I think Apple would want to make it more personalizable and more like a better experience for the user. How they go about that, I'm not sure.
Yep.
In the past, they've not with the App Store, they've not been afraid to literally check every single app to see if it's compliant with their rules. So we could see this happen, and then I think we'll see more workouts available.
Definitely. I think that they're, aside from the watch face store, I think they're all pretty, that very well could happen. I am going to take the Nick approach and be like, I don't think there's going to be a watch face store. But I do think there's going to be plenty of new faces, but it's just going to be, I'm trying to play that. I'm sort of taking your approach with the iPad scenario and applying that to watch, in that I'd love a watch face store, but I don't think they want to let go of that control yet. For me, I think general improvements overall, particularly involving speed and Siri, new independent / cellular watch apps, including third party. So I think the more that they're pushing these, if you had like a bigger third party developer being like, hey, they've built this app, it works entirely on watch by itself, that's just going to help developers kind of kick up that enthusiasm for developers to make independent watch apps. And some always-on face features. I still love the idea that we were talking about a while ago when they introduced cinema mode, for like the outline of your notification, your message to pop up and stuff like that. Yeah. Take that same approach with like the watch hands. You see just the watch hands or just the digital number, and then you raise it up and then the rest of the face fades in. I think that would certainly be great. So, yeah. Mac OS, I'm just going to give it a name while we're waiting for the name, and I'm going to call it Mac OS Sequoia, which was one of the names tossed around in previous years. I definitely think the focus will be on Marzipan. I think there's going to be some new Marzipan apps, including at least one major third party coming out with someone that they've probably been working with behind the scenes, whether it's Adobe, I'm not sure. And there's definitely going to be more developer information for that. I think that this could be the time that the Mac gets a dedicated Apple Music app, so it won't live within iTunes anymore. Could that be a Marzipan app? I'm not sure. under the hood updates, which is pretty standard, and basically just little things like bring iMessage in line with the iPhone, have the right effects and all that sort of stuff. So what about yourself?
Yeah, for macOS, you'll notice I'm really pushing shortcuts. So I think for macOS, I think we'll see like a Siri Shortcuts app being made available.
That'd be cool.
Which I'm super excited for if they do that, and that could be a Marzipan app.
Yes. Yes.
And then I just like put forward the question, which is what's in it for the Pro, and what can Apple do this year with brand new Mac Pro, beautiful display. What can they do on the OS side to get in the Pros? So obviously, like there's a lot. So yeah, it would just be. I just put forward that question to say, do we see some particular like specialization for a video professional, for example? And so like eGPUs have been an example, the support for eGPUs. So is there, I didn't know about eGPUs before, but maybe there's something else out there that's like, in the same vein that they could like just pick off the tree.
So something that would kind of seem like a direct result of their Pro workflow team that they hired.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that'd be great. I'm really excited for that. So tvOS typically gets kind of pushed aside, but tvOS 13 I think is going to take a fair bit more of the spotlight. Maybe, I guess, purely based around a preview for the Apple Video subscription service, which I think I would be so shocked if it doesn't come this year at all, or if it's not at least shown.
I'm fairly certain it's coming this year.
Yeah, I just think with everything, with Tim Cook saying, yep, services is where we're pushing, we've got exciting things coming out, like for sure, right? And they're putting like...
Well, he specifically said this year. He said you'll see us launching new services this year.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So the big question is, does the TV app become the main interface for Apple TV? Do they make changes in this space, or do you think they just launch this new subscription service first?
No, not any more than it has. Like, even if you think about what they've launched it as before, is like the future of TV is apps. Now, the way they've made this, they've been training us for 3 years with and I've actually recently changed this button, but the TV button on the Apple TV remote takes you to the TV app. Now, when it first launched, before we had the TV app in Australia, that would be the menu button, not menu, but the home screen button.
Yeah, yep.
And I think that with the default settings, that is their like sort of home screen, but I don't think we'll see any more push than that already.
So you think that they're just going to their shows, you subscribe to it, whether it's free or not free or part paid, whatever, it's just going to be shows just within the TV app amongst the other stuff. Is that what you reckon?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep,
cool.
I reckon. Yeah. So I definitely agree on the video streaming service. Now, Tim Cook specifically used plural when he said that there'll be new services launching this year, and Apple also bought the like news subscription app last year. Now they don't just do that and then not do anything with it. It was hardly a competitor that they needed to absorb, so I think we'll see some new subscription service launched this year. Even if it's just bringing it into. Well, it would just be bringing it into the news app.
Okay, yeah. August release. Now, the only reason I included this was because of their what seemed like a bit of a knee-jerk update to the MacBook Pros around the August time frame. So, could this be a good time for them just online to give MacBook Air a spec bump? Available instantly. The MacBook Pro Touch Bar a spec bump. No design changes or anything. And then to actually remove the non-touch bar one. I mean, I know that you've already kind of like noted this whole August thing as nothing will happen, but could that be a good time to just quietly do an online update? Yeah,
I think I tend to agree with the no touch bar. You're saying they like discontinue that one, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that would be the case where they like remove that out of the lineup. But I don't think we'll see like a spec bump. I'm not sure what Intel's plans are with the processor. for this year, but
Mm.
we'll see.
I just think that Apple's chips in a MacBook will start with the 12-inch one, and we're not going to see it in any of the others. And that being said, Intel, will have something new for Apple to contain, so maybe, but it's not going to get. Yeah, it'll be quite like a quiet release, maybe just a little splash on the home screen or something and an email out.
Yeah.
All right, the big one, September event. Take it away, Nick.
This one is like as sure as tomorrow, right? I kind of feel like this is probably, for me, the least exciting part about predictions. I'm just going to go straight forward on this one. I think we'll see updates to each of their flagship iPhones. I do think we'll see updated AirPods. I'm really optimistic about that one this year. I think we were let down last year not getting Hello Siri AirPods.
They teased us in the video.
I don't want to think about that part, but yes. Now, I will just like sure, there will just be updates, right? Like, I'm excited about all of these products. Don't get me wrong, but something that I think I want to see in Apple Watch Series 5 is them putting to use their purchase of Bedit, and making sleeping health pretty much like a core focus of the Apple Watch. So that would be like pretty interesting. Obviously, I will be getting each of these things. So it's like whether it has it or not. But usually the extra health feature is the one to sell me on the new watch for the year. And then,
so do you think just quickly on a Series 5 that they would have like significantly improved battery life because of the sleep tracking?
I think. I wonder if they could do something more around faster charging, because the battery is pretty small, right? So if you up the charging, could you then make it charge when the person showers in the morning? Like, because battery life's already, a day and a half. You can get through from morning one day to like late afternoon the following day without any specific workout. So that's like at least like a significant battery. You could probably just top up when you go, when you're just getting ready in the morning. I don't know. But yeah, I think there's the intention there to do something, and they're pretty close.
What about 10R?
10R, I think, I don't expect to see too much done to it. Like, so obviously there's a rumor with the dual cameras, and that's, I guess, an easy win for them. But then does that raise the price even further? Is that something they want to do? I don't know.
I think we'll see, for the flagships, as you said, updates to that, whether it's called 11 and 11 Plus or whether they finally do go for dropping the number. That I'm 50-50 on that. The big push, the big rumor, the very weird renders that we're seeing at the moment are triple lens cameras. Some of them are just quite ghastly, but they're definitely going to be pushing new camera features, and I think particularly software-based camera features. So this is going to be their kind of like direct response to Google's night vision and all that sort of stuff. A reduced notch, I think, is possible. Maybe a reduced bezel. I think product red is going to be a standard color amongst the three other colors, and I think that we could actually see an iPad Pro inspired design. That's me being optimistic, but I would love to see it because there's also the design change factor for China, because they're talking about a lot of people in China are very concerned with looking like they have the latest thing. And if it holds much the same design as 10S, it's not going to look like the new thing.
Yeah, but they've done that. Like in the previous years, they've done just color updates to make people know that they've got the new thing. Like color, like gold was a specific color launched for China. Like it looks great, and other countries bought it a lot, but it was launched for China. Gold is like one of the two most popular colors in China. Red and gold are insanely popular, and essentially that shows you've got the latest one. Like the red dot on Series 3 showed you had the latest one. Like they don't actually need it to look, it just needs to be identifiable at a glance. Now, I don't see a redesign this year. I just don't think it's going to happen I just don't. Even with the reduced notch, it's still pretty new technology, and I think most people are used to it by now and there's no other option. Like, you buy the phone with a notch and that's it. And I think with China, like, I know that people are saying that that is one of the reasons why they like underselling in China this year, but the bigger issue there is like the macro, like the economic factors, right?
Yes, the macroeconomic, yeah.
Exactly, because like one of the major things about that whole issue is that it wasn't just Apple. Like, since then, LG and Samsung have both reviewed their like guidance. So it's not. So that was something that like was not just what your pain point is with Apple now being fixed, and it's just like there's a bigger issue at play there. And what can they do to make people who now are maybe worried about putting food on the table buy a new iPhone? It's like, okay, well, new hardware update is not really going to do that. You have to make it like actually be more important in their life. And that's my like 2 cents on it.
I guess the compromise between the two could be much the same design, reduced notch, reduced micro bezel around the side, and maybe some extra color options. So USB-C, I'm still 50-50 on it. It would be very it would be very handy for me, considering switching between, charging my MacBook Pro and my phone. But I really don't know. I know you said you don't think so. I know we've had this discussion before, but I'm still undecided whether they're going to do it.
Yeah. I'll just go back for when Apple told us what they're going to do. They said, we want, the 30-pin lasted us for 10 years. We wanted a connector that lasts us for the next 10 years. So I'm just going to say that's why I don't think we'll see, I don't think we'll see the change.
I think 10R will get an update. It'll be the same design, just a spec bump, some new colors, and improved camera, but still single lens. Whether they call it 11R or just iPhone R or whatever, I'm not sure. AirPods 2, I think definitely would be a great time to do it with Hello Siri as the main thing. Improved battery on it, and maybe a design tweak to the case or something. I'm not sure. Apps, I think we're actually this would be a good time for Nintendo to debut their next iPhone app, being Mario Kart World Tour or Zelda, which have both been confirmed to be coming at some point. And I think we're going to get a cool new AR-focused app from a major third party. Watch Series 5, same design, same sizes. I think could stroke detection or the glucose monitoring be the big health feature? I think the sleep tracking is definitely a safer bet, but any of those would be great.
Yeah, glucose would be amazing. Like, that will literally change the world. So I don't know. I'm thinking like they might want to be more certain about that one. So, but it's coming one day. Like, I'm pretty sure that in the next 5 years or 10 years, we'll see that on the Apple Watch, and it will change everything. But
definitely. I also think we're going to get a new cellular red indicator. Just a different way of doing it. Same, still on the crown, just a different way. I'm not sure whether it's like a half or no. Actually, that'd look horrible. I'm not really sure. Okay, services. So this will be the launch of Apple Video. That's just what I'm calling it for the moment. The preview will be WWDC. The launch will be...
No, I don't think they'll preview. Like, I don't think they'll preview. I think they'll do Apple Music and straight up come out with it. Like, this is independent of software. It doesn't need to wait till the till tvOS is out. They can just do this.
So you think it'll just come out mid-year?
Yeah. Like Apple Music did.
Yeah, cool. Bundled subscription. This is an optimistic one, but I'm thinking it'd be cool if they did something involving a bundled subscription of video, Apple Music, iCloud storage, and like stuff to do with news or books or whatever. I think the standard iCloud storage is going to be increased as well from the 5 gigs. I think this is actually the time to do it. And whether they could tie any of this stuff in with the whole iPhone upgrade program could be a good incentive. Some people from other tech podcasts were saying it doesn't even need to be a big discount for the bundle. It just needs to seem like that people are getting a good deal. Like people are like, I'm going to go with that, even if it saves them $10, Before we finish on the video service stuff, do you think that for Apple users, part of it will be free? Like you'll get like some free shows and then pay to get the rest sort of thing, and then if you're accessing it from a non-Apple device, then you have to pay for the whole thing? Or
No, I think they've done their free shows. I think we see what the free content is. I think the rest of it will be behind the paywall.
yeah, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
I think this could be the time to introduce a 12-inch MacBook with an Apple chip. So they'll do it in a way that will either retain the current price point or possibly even drop the price. There'll be a design change. I think they could reduce the bezels and that sort of thing, keep the same screen size, but probably have the same keyboard, etc. Could they include the MacBook in this September event, do you think?
This would be a massive thing. I think it would be part of the October event. So I think that's where it kind of fits in, is like this. It's really like it's like you want the iPad with this awesome iOS and this awesome processor, or do you want this awesome processor and this MacBook on macOS? And it would be brave for them to put them up next to one another, but it just seems like it's more of a not iPhone related thing. And that September event is so packed. It's iPhone accessories and watch, and a recap a little bit on the software. So for me, it's like you really have to be a major thing to get in on that stage.
The only reason I was saying that is because I don't think a 12-inch MacBook with an Apple chip is enough to hold its own event, and I don't think they're going to just online release it. So that's why I thought, well...
And you don't think they'll put it next to an iPad Pro?
Well, I think an iPad Pro, just to jump ahead to the October thing, will get an update, but it'll be a spec bump just online.
Just online?
Just online.
They've never done an iPad just online. Never.
Never say never.
No, they have never done it.
Yeah, I know, but it doesn't mean they can't.
I'm not saying they will never do it, but they've just not done that to date, and I just don't know.
I was trying to sell myself on the fact that there won't be an October event rather than getting excited about an October event sort of thing. So I was just trying to write it off thinking like, they've got to sort of update the iPad Pro surely, but then they have gone longer than a year beforehand from updating it, but then surely it would get an A13X chip,
No, I don't think you do. I don't think you do June focus on iPad for the previous year's iPad. Like you do focus in June on iPad because you're excited on what hardware that's going to run on when you release it officially. It's the same with the phone, right? Like they make all these things and, previous users get to use them, but phone optimizations are done for the upcoming hardware. So, yeah.
Okay, if we separate the MacBook out of this event, I think that this iPhone event could be the good time to include a new iPod Touch if it exists. I know you said, and you had great reasons to tie that in with an education-focused March event, but I think, September for a September release, October release maybe, leading up to Christmas, buy it for the kids. If you don't want to buy them a phone, that could be a really good time to release one. Okay, so you mentioned, I kind of wrote off an actual October event, but did you have some thoughts for that?
Oh, yeah, it was just that that's when I was kind of thinking we'd see more of the updates to the Mac lineup. Just processor bumps, nothing too crazy there. And then for iPad Pro, I'm not...
Like, how can they hold an event?
Yep.
Again for it, like they did I don't know, like
they held an event for the education iPad and even the iPad. Yeah. I don't know. So either way,
it's just hard. I'm just comparing it to last year. I'm comparing it,
but
to
they've
October
got all of
2018.
the supposed June push right on the iOS push. So I just think that if you're doing all that work, you're going to use the platform to sell the product just before Christmas again. I think
could that be a good chance to actually hold an event? 3 products, similar to what they did in October, do an update to the iPad Pro, the 12-inch MacBook with Apple processor, and a redesigned iMac. Could that be the time to actually?
Yeah, that's where I think we would see that's where I think we'd see the 12-inch MacBook. I think also with the iPad Pro, they could use the opportunity because of the spec bump. Apple spec bumps are massive. You go A11 to A12 is a huge like jump. So I expect A13 processor to be pretty intense, and it might be the time they release Xcode for iPad or something like that, right? So it's kind of
if they say that's coming, like whether at that event or at WWDC, the crowd are going to go nuts.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. And any last thoughts on that, or you just want to wrap this up with what we're looking forward to?
Yeah, we can wrap it up and head over to, what we're looking forward to. Did you want to kick that off?
Okay, so I'm most excited for iPhone 11, actually, because I'll be getting one. That's basically the reason, because I would have had my 10 for 2 years by that point. And I've already got, I certainly don't think I'll be upgrading my iPad Pro. Mine is still so very new. And I feel like even, my iPhone 10 after a year, even now still feels new to me. So I think the iPad Pro is going to have that same effect. And there's nothing else really coming out. I'm not really in the market to upgrade my Mac or anything. So I'm holding out for the Apple chip MacBook Pro before I even, want to upgrade that. So that's what I'm most excited for. I'm least excited for an upgrade to iPad mini. I would like it to happen because I still think it holds a purpose. It definitely is not the focus of Apple, obviously, but they did show it on stage at the iPad Pro event. It was on the splash screen there, so it's still in their mind, and I think, a spec bump could happen, but I'm not excited for it. Top of my wish list is the iOS 13 UI/home screen change, particularly with the ideas that you planted just earlier. I think that could be really cool. So what about yourself?
Yeah, I'm most excited. I'm not allowed to tie it, right? You can't do tie most excited, otherwise it wouldn't be most. Yeah. But okay, this year I will probably say it's actually the Series 5 Apple Watch I'm most excited for. I think, it's just might be, it's just for me is the most exciting product at the moment.
Could this be your Hermes? Yeah.
It probably, I hope so. I think it just feels right. The timing would be right to get one of the better model. I think that I was pretty upset that they didn't do ceramic last year, because I was actually pretty set on getting ceramic, and then Hermes was just ridiculously out of stock by the time I actually decided to get it. So maybe this year. Maybe this year.
I think if they release it in time and you get it in time, you could be wearing it at the altar.
It could happen. So happen. And then I'm least excited for. Then I was actually also going to say iPad as being my second most excited, because I'm always excited for iPad. And then I'm least excited probably for the Mac updates. I don't know. Maybe the iPad mini. That's such an easy one. I feel like a cop-out for saying that. But maybe.
And then they release a mind-blowing iPad mini.
I'll go the opposite of what you were saying. I'm not getting the Mac Pro. I don't care how good it is. It can literally be, it can take you to Mars via a teleporter, and I'm not getting it. I'm not going to spend money on it at all. And top of my wish list is, I'm loving HomePod. So I just feel more Siri features for HomePod would be fun. I just love my HomePod. So
fair enough. Well, your HomePods.
Yes,
if that's the plural
collection,
for it.
My collection of HomePods.
Okay, so you mentioned briefly before, we'll just finish the episode on, there's obviously the big thing with Apple and their huge drop in sales and they're doomed and all that crap, and I covered that in the previous episode, but it turns out LG and Samsung are definitely most affected as well. And then alongside that, we had the total surprise announcement at CES of, Apple working with people like Samsung and that to get their apps in their TVs. So, both pretty. That one was shocking in a good way, and then the other one was shocking in just a frustrating way, because I know it was going to steal all the tech headlines.
Yeah. I'm pretty excited for AirPlay 2 to come to, more TVs, or to TVs that are not just Apple TVs, so people can, be happier in the ecosystem. I always want people to enjoy all of their products. Obviously, because we're super invested, we get all of that full usage. But, for someone who's just buying a TV, hey, show your little home video on your TV, and that's great. I love that Apple are playing nicely. It's like CarPlay, right? CarPlay is a great product, but not necessarily everyone has it right now, but over time you eventually get it. So yeah.
And so how do you think this is going to affect the Apple TV as a piece of hardware?
Like severely, quite severely. Yeah, I don't know about Apple TV's future, to be honest. We'll see.
Yeah, I hope they keep releasing it just because I don't want to have a Samsung Smart TV. But
yeah, I think that even if they keep around for like a privacy thing, but I don't know if it's a 10-year product, roadmap product. Like this might be the second last generation.
I certainly don't think that they're going to release their own actual television.
No. This spells like it's basically written in clear block letters. We are not releasing our own television ever. Like literally, they could not have been clearer. And what I was thinking then is, did they only make that decision recently? Like, were they always still trying it out? Or yeah, I don't know.
I know maybe there's one sitting in Steve Jobs' house when he finally said he cracked it. Maybe he had created an actual Apple-made TV, and yeah,
I think he cracked the interface. I don't know if he cracked the actual. They didn't do anything for the screen. So, yeah.
Who knows what happens within the closed loop of Apple Park.
Infinite loop.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that brings us to the end of quite a. There's some good predictions in there. There's some good stuff you brought up, and we had some differences, but it was It's going to be a very packed year. It's going to be very interesting. The whole services thing has really kind of changed the game, and hey, I can't wait, to be there day one for when Apple Video comes out and start watching some shows.
Yep.
All right, that brings us to the end of episode, and we are on the Ozcast Network, as you would already know. So please head to auscastnetwork.com to check out us and plenty of other great podcasts. Apple Sites are also on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. So, hey, if you're into social media, you can follow us there. And of course, if you search in your player, if you haven't subscribed already, would be fantastic. And, if you use Apple Podcasts or iTunes, leaving a review, only takes a minute, and we'd greatly appreciate it. And I post everything to do with the podcast to applesites.com.au. So any final thoughts, Nick, before we close this off?
No, nothing on this. I think I just have like a bit of a PSA on the product red Apple Watch Sport Loop that just be careful that in my experience, the color is both the most beautiful color, like it's the most solid color that Apple makes on those sport loops. It's like really vibrant and uniform all the way across. However, it did leak onto my white t-shirt, like it rubbed off onto it.
Oh,
and so,
wow.
Yeah, just be careful of that. Like, I don't know if it's not done on any of my other watches. None of my other watch bands have done it. That was watch band I recently got. And then I also got the Nike Plus Sport Loop in, I think it's like Celestial.
Yes.
And it's I quite like that color, and also it has that reflective woven material, which is really, really cool. I really enjoy that. Like, go for a lot of sunset runs. So this is like good, like not security but safety measure. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's been good having a chat after a bit of a time apart, and this is the start of 2018 kicking off, and we'll just see what has in store. So I'll catch you later.
Catch ya.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.